Well, emotions were both heavy and celebratory inside and outside the courtroom on Friday after jurors convicted Jason Van Dyke of second-degree murder. What was your takeaway as this whole thing developed on Friday? Obviously, I don't think we were truly expecting that verdict to come down on Friday. We expected it to go into next week. So when the news came out that we were about an hour away from a verdict, I, for one, was surprised. How was your guys' reaction to it?
I feel cautiously optimistic because we know that we're not necessarily out of the weeds yet because we have to wait for sentencing to see what the judge will decide how much time he will get, and we have to wait to see if there will be any appeals from his side and as far as what his attorneys will do. I just feel cautiously optimistic. So when I was listening to the verdict happen, I was actually in an office building. I was taking care of some business on Friday, and everyone in the office was just tuned in. Like, this affects all of us as Chicagoans, you know, and just coming together. Everyone in the office was just tuned into their computers, their laptops, their phones. They were watching on television. It's just kind of astounding how we're all connected in this sense.
And how could you not? I mean, I feel like you said, cautiously optimistic. Like, I hope this is the start of a new era. Like, I think this shows like there is justice to be had, and you know, seeing people celebrate, like watching the verdict live, and everyone that was like right outside reacting to it, I was just like, thank God this was the outcome of this, and it wasn't the other way, because I was nervous, honestly, like leaving work, like what's going to happen to the city if he was found not guilty, but the jury said that there was no chance that he was going to be not
which
guilty.
Was really interesting to hear the jury talk about that. We actually have some sound from them. But I know there's two sides to this. There's people who believe that Van Dyke had no business even having a trial, let alone being sentenced for this. I happen to be on the other side of this, and I can only talk from my vantage point and through my lens that's coming from a young black male who's seen too many times over this thing happen and the verdict go the other way. Mm-hmm. And for me to see in our city of Chicago that a jury from all different walks of life were able to work in unison, in harmony, and come to the conclusion swiftly and together that this, in fact, was an injustice. This was, in fact, a man taking another man's life and thinking it'd be okay because he could hide behind a badge. And for so long, that's been the norm in our city. And for us to see that this was not okay, this was not going to stand, and this sentence happened, there's two things I can remember from my time being here in Chicago. And they're on two wildly different scales, but I remember exactly where I was when they happened. And it was when Barack Obama was elected into office for the first time. It just felt like, okay, this is partly my country too. I am a part of this. And look, this last one just happened a few days ago, but with the Van Dyke sentencing, I felt like, okay, maybe this is the start where things will start to move in our favor, and we are safe in this country, and we are protected. And if there are violations, they will be convicted. So that's where I came from this, but I do understand that there's another side to it too. And we actually have sound from Herbert, who was Van Dyke's lawyer, talking about their defense and their reaction to it.
It really is kind of a sad day for law enforcement, I think, because we've all heard about the Ferguson effect, and I can only imagine that if police officers think that they can never fire against somebody that is acting the way Laquan McDonald did when they're 12 feet away from them, I think that what we are going to have is police officers are going to become security guards. There will not be a police officer getting out of a car to confront somebody. And maybe that's what everyone wants. I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays out.
But their job is to protect us, not to kill innocent people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just think that I'd like to see non-deadly forces being used, right?
It's definitely a tough job. Let's definitely give attention that being police officer in 2018 is not an easy job. And I'm a firm believer that, you know, I don't really feel like anyone necessarily won in this situation, because I guess I feel like this is one trial. And yes, that was an important verdict, because typically we see this going another way when a black person is killed in the street by the hands of police. Typically, the verdict comes out differently. So this is important, but I guess I'm looking at the system overall. Overall, the system is flawed, and this is just a reflection. This is a reflection of what actually is wrong with our system. Yeah. So that's where I think, when I say cautiously optimistic in terms of moving forward, it's bigger than this trial, and that's what I want to be fixed as well.
Yeah, absolutely, because as you heard Jason Van Dyke throughout, he said that he echoed the same sentiment. I was doing how I was taught.
He's been trained.
There was truly a belief from him. There was truly a belief from Van Dyke that I didn't do anything wrong. This was my education into the force. This is how I was taught to handle this. So you're absolutely right. It goes bigger than that, and the legislation and how the approach to these officers that join the law enforcement, how they act moving forward, that needs to be changed so we don't have
Systemic change,
situations
yeah.
like this anymore.
That's tough.